Hello dear student, welcome on this video. In this video lecture we will be covering magnetic dipole and magnetic dipole moment. So what is a magnetic dipole? Let me define it first. Uh, this is an arrangement in which a closed loop has current. So we can write that in short. A closed loop, a closed current carrying loop is known as magnetic dipole. So any loop that carries current, so it has to be closed loop and it should carry current. So if it is carrying current and it's closed loop, so that particular arrangement is known as magnetic dipole. It's just like we used to say electric dipole when the arrangement was consist of two charges equal and opposite and having some separation. So that arrangement was electric dipole. Similarly, this arrangement is going to known as magnetic dipole. So here is a picture given. In this picture, a current carrying loop is there. Now in that loop, there can be n number of turns. So number of turns can be more than one. So let's say the total number of turns are n. So let me write over here. If a loop which carries current has n turns, n number of turns, and each turn has current I, then its magnetic dipole moment is given by, so we define a quantity, physical quantity called magnetic dipole moment. So this magnetic dipole moment is a physical quantity and it is defined like this. So that comes like this. We write it as mu. So generally we will use a mu later. Sometimes we can also use m later. So m for magnetic dipole moment and mu for also magnetic dipole moment. Right. So sometime we will be using mu, sometime we will be using m. Both will be meaning. Both will have the same meaning over here. They are going to be known as magnetic dipole moment. And it's going to be total current. If I is a current in each turn and total number of turns are n, so we can think of total current is going to be I up to n terms, so that is Ni. So that's the Ni is indicating total current into area of the loop, and area is assigned a direction, so that becomes the definition for magnetic dipole moment. Now here the quantities involved, you can easily understand what they are. This mu is a dipole moment, or you can say magnetic dipole moment to be precise, and n is the total number of turns, I is the current in each turn, so this n into I, that becomes the total current in the loop, and A is the area of that loop. So if area is given to us, so we can also decide the direction. So let's say this is the loop, so this is going to be the area. If it is circular, so area will be pi r square. Area will become pi r square. Pi r square, where r is the radius. So this A is the area of the loop. So let me write that precisely. A vector is area of loop vector. So how to write the magnitude? We have written the magnitude. If it is circular, it's going to be pi r square, and if it is rectangular, accordingly we will finding the area of that loop. What the direction is? So as far as the direction is concerned, so we can say direction is perpendicular to loop surface. Loop surface. So when we talk about area, area is always perpendicular to the surface. So loop surface. And again in perpendicular there will be two directions out of which we need to decide which direction it is. And then we can sit perpendicular to the loop surface and following right hand rule with current. So we need to see where the current is moving and you use right hand rule, and then the thumb will going to give us the direction of area. That means we will be curling our right hand fingers naturally in the direction of current, then thumb will let us know what is going to be the direction. For instance, in this given picture or figure, you can see the current is moving like this. If we curl our right hand fingers naturally in the direction of current, then you will find thumb will be moving up. And we know the direction of area vector has to be perpendicular to this surface, so either upside or downside. So it has to be in this particular case upside, because following right hand rule with the current is coming upside, so this will become the direction of mu. So once this is direction of mu because this is the direction of A. So A direction and mu direction are identical because current is always positive. So you can say this is how we can find the magnitude of mu, and we can also find the direction of mu. So this is how magnetic dipole is defined, and this is how we write the magnetic dipole moment. Making sense? So in questions you will be given different geometrical loops, and for all geometrical loop you need to find the area, you need to find the current in each loop, then number of loops, and then you need to write the total current into area as a vector, and this is a vector quantity, so must be treated like a vector. Now let's proceed further. Now let's consider what happens to this magnetic dipole when it is placed in a uniform magnetic field. So in a uniform magnetic field, we are placing a magnetic dipole. So let's say we have a dipole which is of this rectangular geometry, and in this space is a magnetic field present, and let's say that magnetic field is uniformly distributed and it is into the plane, and it is B. So B is uniform as written over here, and its direction is into the plane, and this is a current carrying loop. So let's say there is a current running like this, so that's the I current running, and let's say this has a single turn, so turn is 1 only, and let's say we know what the dimensions are. So dimensions are like this, let me draw like this. So this dimension, I'm saying it is L for length, and we can call this as a B for width or breadth or whatever. So B is this, L is this, I is this, and this B is for magnetic field which is uniformly distributed. So first point, we need to know what are the effects on this. So first effect, we can think of what the force is going to act. Now questions will be there, like if this current carrying loop is placed in this magnetic field, what happens to this loop, whether it moves, if it is moving, so what is the acceleration, whether it's a rotate, if it is rotating, so what the angular acceleration, whether it carries energy, if it is carries energy, so what is the potential energy or energy stored. So all those things we need to talk about. That means we are basically talking about mechanics of this part. So first thing that we will be focusing on force. So how much the force will act on this particular loop in presence of this magnetic field. So we know there is a formula called F is equal to I L cross B. F is equal to I L cross B. And to be precise, we need to go for integration, and it's written like this: integration dl cross magnetic field B. And we know if it is uniform magnetic field, so we can further simplify this. It's going to be I integration dl vector, that will be separately integrated, and B can be taken outside because B is a uniform, so that will come outside of integration. And for a closed loop, this becomes 0. So since we need to integrate it from here to entire loop and coming back to the same point, so it's a closed loop, and for closed loop this displacement becomes 0, so we can say it's going to be equal to 0. And this point we have already talked about, that in any closed loop present in a uniform magnetic field, net force acting is 0. Net force acting is 0. Mind it, it is a net force that we are talking about. Now if you look at the different branches, how the force will be looking like. Let's say we name them. This is a 1 2 branch, and this is 2 to 3 segment or branch, this is 3 to 4 branch. So we have talked about L cross B. You take this L, do the cross with B, then you will find it's going to be in this direction. So that will be force acting in this direction. In this branch you will find the force will be there. In this branch you will find the force will be there. In this branch the force will be there. So we will say the net force is going to be 0. Net force is going to be 0. However, the forces are acting on each and every segment. So this might be asked whether there is acting any deforming force. So you say yes, whatever these forces are, they are deforming force, because they are not accelerating. So they are trying to deform the structure. So that the question naturally comes whether this loop is going to deform. So you say yes, the loop is going to deform. What type of deformation it is going to witness, whether it will increase its size or it decrease its size. So you'll find these forces are acting outwards, so they will be elongating it, so it will be expanding in nature, or you can say it will try to increase its size. So this kind of questions are very popular, which we can identify by using this formula, which we have already gone through. Then next term or quantity that we need to focus upon in this particular scenario or case is a torque. So one thing is clear from the above calculation, that the force is not going to act. That means this object or this loop is not going to travel. So it won't move. That means it is center of mass. Wherever it is, it will remain there. It cannot travel because the net force is 0. So then now we need to check whether it can rotate. So for rotating, we need to see how much the torque is acting. So let me redraw the same picture and try to analyze the torques. And if we are able to understand this torque properly, how it is coming, then it will help us definitely in several questions in future to visualize how the torques are acting and in which direction they are and how much they are. So I'm drawing the same loop over here. That means I'm repeating the same picture, and it is placed in the same magnetic field, and exactly same story is going on. And length, width, all are L and B, as we have already talked about. And let's say we are disturbing this loop by a certain amount. So when we want to see whether the torque is acting, what you do, you rotate a bit. After rotating a bit, you release it. Now if it starts rotating faster in the direction you rotated, that means there is a torque in that direction. And if it comes back to the original position, that means again there is a restoring torque. Okay, so let's choose this as our axis of rotation, which is passing through the center. So that means center will not move, so axis will not move. So about this axis, which is I'm calling axis of rotation, let's tilt this loop, the entire loop plane, by certain angle theta. So by a small angle theta we are tilting. Theta is a very small. So if we tilt it, we will find this plane which is upside, it's going to go in, this is upside, it's going to go inside, and this portion will coming outside by theta angle. So the geometry will be a little bit different. So let me try to draw the new geometry, how it's going to look like in the new orientation. Better would be I choose a different color, so I'm just changing the color, and it's going to be some sort of this portion has gone inside roughly, and it's going to be look like this, and this is also going inside or has gone inside up to this. So that's the inside portion. You can see that's the inside portion and coming in this way. So we can make this dark so that it looks like that this has gone in that side, and this portion will be coming outside, so we can draw like this roughly, and this is also coming like this, so we can draw like this, and we can join this by a line. So this is trying to say we have rotated the loop by angle theta. and you'll find this angle is going to be theta by which we have rotated it. Okay. And now let's talk about what the forces are acting. Now the loop will have a current, still the same current will be there. So this will be I current. So there will be I current running. So there will be I current coming this way. So this way or this way. Again, we need to see the forces acting. Since the magnetic field is uniform, so we can see the entire force is acting on the center point. Like in this 1 to 2 branch, we can say the net force is acting at the center point because it's a symmetrical, and this can be at the center point, this can be at the center point, this can be in this center point. So but if you have changed this, first thing we need to identify what the forces are and in which direction. So let me name them. Like this is 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, the same naming. Let's talk about the first 1-2 branch. Can you think of the direction of force acting in the 1-2 branch? Here it was in this direction. And we know the force is perpendicular to DL, so it has to be perpendicular to wire. So it's always perpendicular to the wire. So it has to be perpendicular to this wire. Moreover, it has to be perpendicular to magnetic field. So since it has to be perpendicular to the magnetic field, so it must be in this plane. That means in the vertical direction is going to be the right direction. So you'll find the direction of magnetic field in force in 1 to 2 branch is going to be still in the vertically up direction. So even though you bend it by a certain amount, the force will be acting in the vertically up direction. So this vertically up direction force will be following the rule of IDL cross B, and it's going to be perpendicular to the wire as well as perpendicular to the magnetic field. So this is 90-degree angle you can think of. Now then we can say what is going to be the direction of the force on this branch 2 to 3. So you'll find it's going to be perpendicular again to the wire and the field. So it's going to be in this direction. And if we come to this, so then you'll find in this is going to be downside and perpendicular to the wire. So vertically downside is going to be the direction. This direction you can think using the vector rule of cross product. And another direction is going to be this. And such that these two parallel forces are equal and opposite, and these two forces which are parallel, they are also equal and opposite. The two forces that I'm trying to say is in the vertical direction. So the sum of the vertical forces and the sum of the horizontal forces separately are 0. Making sense? Now if we talk about the torque, then you can think now what is happening. This force and this force will not give any torque. Let me give the name. So we say this is a force F12, and this is a force 3-4, and this is a force 2-3, and this is a force 4-1 or 1-4. Now you'll find this 1-4 force and this 2-3 force, they are going to be equal and opposite, and they are not going to give any torque because their forces are passing through the line of this axis. So, and however, their line of actions are not different. Their lines of actions are not crossing this axis of rotation. So they will be giving the torque. First thing that we need to identify the sense of this torque. Whether the sense of the torque is in the direction of rotation that we made, or it is in the opposite direction. So if you look carefully, then you'll find this force will try to bring this back in the upward direction. And this will try to take the branch to the downward direction, that means in the direction where originally it was located. So you'll find the torque is going to come in the direction opposite to the theta that we made. So torque is coming in the opposite direction to that of the angular displacement that you caused. Making sense? So from here we can say this torque is going to be restoring in nature. Restoring in nature. So this is how we can identify the direction. Once we have identified the direction, we can go for the magnitude, and how the magnitude be written. The total torque is written as R cross F. So we need to say it's going to be R cross F. We can say because of prevailing symmetry, if we calculate because of one, another will be obviously equal to the first. Now let's make a side view from here. If we are viewing this thing from here, then you'll find the picture will be looking like this. This is the point of intersection. That means from here the axis is passing through, and this part is the half of this portion, this length, and we know this half is going to be b by 2. So that's going to be b by 2, b by 2, and this is the angle by which it has gone rotated, that means this angle, which is theta. So you will find this angle is also going to be theta. Now the force is acting on this branch which is going perpendicular to this board, and it's going to be perpendicular to this. This is the force that is acting. So because of this force, we need to find the torque about an axis which is passing through this axis. So what we need to do, we need to find the perpendicular distance. So if we are looking for the perpendicular distance, so can we measure that perpendicular distance? Can you see from this axis, if there is an axis, you need to extend it, and you need to find this as a perpendicular distance. And can we say this perpendicular distance is exactly same as this length, which I have shown with this green color? So if this b by 2, so this is going to be, we have like a perpendicular distance between the force and the axis, and it's going to be b by 2 sine theta. So b by 2 sine theta will become the perpendicular distance. Now if you have understood this small figure, then life is going to be quite easy. From here we can say torque is going to be equal to, or let me write over here, this torque can be written as total torque, net torque is going to be 2 times torque because of 1. That means b by 2 sine theta, that's the perpendicular distance, into the force. You can call this force as F12. So when we are calling this force, this is 1, 2 force. 1, 2 and 3, 4 forces are identical in magnitude. Anyway, so we can carry on with this. So torque is coming as how much? 2 and 2 getting cancelled out. It's going to be b sine theta, and force in the segment 1, 2. So what this force is in that segment? It's a simply ILB. So it's going to be IL into B for magnetic field. So that's going to be the torque value. Now when you rewrite it, you are going to get something like this. It's going to be, or it can be written as I into L into B into sine theta. Now if you look carefully, this L into B is indicating the area of the loop, this area of the loop, and I is the current running through this, and we have considered one single loop. So that means this basically is indicating the magnitude of dipole moment. So we can say torque is basically is equal to mu into B into sine theta. Moreover, we can also say when we have turned this initially this mu was in the direction parallel to magnetic field. You can see from here using the current rule. And if I have twisted or rotated this loop by angle theta, that means now the angle between B and mu became theta. So we can say from here this theta is indicating angle between mu and B. So we can say theta to be angle between mu and B. So this is also angle between mu and B. So whenever you get mu B sine theta, where theta is angle between them, so we can say this is basically written as a cross product. So we can say mu, this tau in nutshell came out to be mu cross B. Mu cross B. So this mu cross B is going to give us both magnitude as well as direction of the torque on the loop because of presence of uniform magnetic field B. So this is how the proof goes, and now we need to remember this final result, which is tau is equal to mu cross B. For all the calculations, we are not going to go this type of derivations until unless derivation is being asked, and we will simply find mu. How to find the mu? Mu is calculated as I into area, and B will be given to us. We will identify what the directions are, then we will writing mu B sine theta as the magnitude and direction by using the cross product rule, and that will give us the direction. And we can say this is restoring in nature, as we have seen over here, that it tries to restore the loop if you disturb it from its equilibrium position. That means in this particular situation which I have shown earlier, what the torque is going to be equal to. So you'll find it's going to be mu B sine theta. So let's talk about the magnitude. It's going to be mu B sine theta. Since they are parallel, so theta was 0. So it was 0. That means this was equilibrium position, and if you disturb this loop from its equilibrium position by an angle theta, then you'll find there will come a torque which will come automatically because of the magnetic field, and this torque will try to restore the loop which you have disturbed slightly or rotated slightly to the original configuration so that it comes into equilibrium. Make sense? So that's an important result. And the result you can compare with your electric dipole moment. There you need to you have proved that torque came out to be P cross E, that means dipole moment into a cross product with the field. Here also we are doing the same thing, dipole moment and the cross product with the field, and that was also restoring in nature, so this is also restoring nature. So concepts are going parallel to that of electrostatics. Fine, so we have talked about the force, that's going to be zero in nutshell, and it will be deforming in nature. We have talked about the torque, which is going to be mu cross B. Now we can talk about what the potential energy or the energy will be stored, because as soon as you release this disturbed, then you'll find this automatically will be restoring. That means it is the loop is trying to come to the original configuration. That means it has some inherent energy, and that energy we call as a potential energy or energy of the system. And since this is a restoring torque, so this restoring torque going to give us the energy associated in the loop due to presence of magnetic field. Next point is work done in rotating a loop. That's the energy that we were talking about. So let's say again we are having the same loop, some sort of this, and it's present in a uniform magnetic field, and we want to rotate it. So if you rotate it, you will experience a torque. So that means you need to work against that torque. So what the work done is going to be? So we can say work done is going to be given by W is equal to force, or we can say tau d theta. If it is experiencing a torque external tau, so you need to do at least this work to rotate. And tau is, we have just calculated, it's going to be mu into B into sine theta into d theta. Now mu is dependent on orientation, and mu is dependent on configuration and current, so that will not change. B is a uniform, will not change. So you'll find this work done can be simplified as mu B as outside integration sine theta d theta. Sine theta and d theta. And if you are having initial angle theta initial or theta 1, then final theta 2, so you can integrate from theta 1 to theta 2. This is going to be equal to mu B, and you know sine theta becomes minus cos theta, so we can place minus cos theta, and that's a cos theta, and you take it from theta 1 to theta 2. So this work done came out to be minus mu B into cos final angle between mu and B minus cos initial angle between mu and B. So that's how the work done can be calculated in case of rotation of a magnetic dipole moment in presence of magnetic field. Now we know this the work done by external agent is also equal to the energy stored. So this is also going to be W can also be written as change in the potential energy of the system. That means final minus initial. That's going to be final potential energy minus initial potential energy. Now in case we take a reference, so if we take a reference angle 90 degree, that means theta 1 as 90 degree, so u1 will become 0. So that's a reference potential energy, you can call it. If you do so, then this can be rewritten as in this term. That means energy at any angle theta or work done for any angle theta is going to be minus mu into B into cos theta. So I'm replacing theta 2 by theta and theta 1 by 90 degrees, so cos 90 degree will become 0. And again theta is the angle between mu and B, so then you can write the potential energy or the energy stored in the system is going to be minus mu vector dot B vector. Again you can compare with the electrostatic, you'll find exactly similar logic coming over here. So this mu is going to this u is going to be mu dot B with a negative symbol. So this is going to be the formula for energy in rotation due to this field that is present. So since here we have taken the reference 90 degree, that means if we draw this at a reference, so B should be like this. That means B should be perpendicular to this mu. and this was a mu. So there was a 90 degree of. Now if you rotate it by theta amount, so this will be the energy stored at that theta amount. Well, so these are very very important results, and they are very similar to that of the electrostatics, so it's going to be easy to remember, but you need to understand how we are proving this. So proving is also important. Mind it, sometimes in place of mu you will get m, so respect it as well. So m is also indicating magnetic dipole moment. So let's consider one example based on these learnings, and try to use the rules that we have just learned. So it says a square loop, so that means it is a square. So if it is one dimension is b, so another is going to be b, obviously. And this is placed along with the long wire, so that's a long wire. That means we can think of this as infinite wire, as shown. We need to find the stored energy. So what is the energy stored in the loop we need to find. Now how to get that energy stored in this? So how need to you think, you need to imagine whether there's energy at all or not. So you will find this is a wire. Because of this wire there's going to be magnetic field existing. In this space you will find the magnetic field will be into the board because of this wire. So this magnetic field is because of the wire, and this is going to be behave like a magnetic dipole. So there is a basically magnetic dipole which is placed in a magnetic field. So whenever the magnetic dipole is placed in a magnetic field, you will find there is going to be energy stored in that particular arrangement. Okay, so moreover the direction of mu, if we talk about, so direction of mu is going to be into, and there is going to be angle between them as 0 degree. So we know the energy stored is going to be given as a minus mu dot b, so there has to be dot product, so it's not going to be 0. That's what I'm going to say, because it's the cos theta in theta is a 0. Moreover, first of all we need to find what the mu is, then we need to find what the b is, and then we need to go for that particular formula. And then you'll find this b is non-uniform, and we have got to know the formula about uniform. So in this example we will learn how we will deal with that formula in case the field is non-uniform. Make sense? So let's talk about that. Well, so what changes I have made in the picture is this. At a distance x, let's say this is distance x, we are considering a dx element, and in this dx element we can say what the magnetic field is going to be. So magnetic field is going to be into the plane of the board, and in this dx element this branch will be having current I, or side is going to be having current I, and the side downside will also have a current I. And since this the thickness is very important, very small, negligible, so we can think of that this is almost touching each other, and that means no current is flowing. Since no current is flowing, so we can say that no current is basically combination of I and minus I. So if this is I, this is I, so the combination of the two will become 0. Are you getting this? Because this dx is very small. What I'm trying to indicate it that this, whatever the picture, small picture I have drawn, that small picture is indicating a current carrying loop. So we can say that a small element is basically a current carrying loop, though it's not a current carrying loop in nutshell, but we are assuming it, or we can think of, because this current is I, that's for sure, because that's upside. This current is I, that's for sure, because it's a part of the downside segment or this wire. However, these two branches had no current, so we said the thickness is very small, so we can say there is no current, 0 current. So when we say there is a wire this having current I and there is a wire having current I, so basically there is no current. So using this concept we can say there is a current I flowing in this, and there is a current I flowing in this, and since the distance is very small, that means they are almost overlapping, so the total current moving in the upside vertically direction is 0. So that is basically indicating d mu, and if you can catch this d mu, then quite simple will be the calculations or idea to solve it. So this is going to be basically I, whatever the current is, considering one loop is there, into dA. So what the area is going to be of this loop? Can we say area is going to be this dimension, which is b? So dimension b into dx, so that's going to be the mu value, and it's going to be into the plane of the board, that means in the direction of B. Now, considering this, we can say what the energy stored in that differential element is. So can we say that differential element has energy du, and this du is going to be written as minus d mu d mu dot B dot product. So we will be writing it as a minus d mu as a magnitude into B into cos 0. And then we can proceed further to simplify up to the answer. So it's going to be minus d mu we have already talked about, is going to be I b dx. Dx is a differential x into B. What is the B? Because of this wire, since B was varying, so this B is going to be equal to mu naught I naught. I naught is the current of the wire, divided by twice pi x, because this story is taking place at a distance x from the wire, and into cos 0, which is 1. Now this is du. Once you got du's, you can find u. So what the u is going to be integration of du, and when you go for integration, you can take all the constant terms outside, like minus mu naught I naught and the I. There are two currents you need to catch. Those currents into B, which is a constant, divided by twice pi, which is a constant, and within integration we will find it's going to be dx divided by x. So it's going to be ln, you can see from here, and we need to place the limits of x. X has been taken from here, whereas this energy will be stored only on this part, not in this part. So x has to be start from A. So x has to be start from A, and it has to run to this end, which is going to be A plus B. A plus B. Now after simplification, you will get this as a minus mu naught I B upon twice pi ln. I'm writing directly after placing the limit, it's going to be A plus B divided by A. So that will become the energy stored. This much amount the energy is stored in this configuration, what was shown to us. So in this particular example, what you learn is how we can write this d mu. So if we are able to find this d mu, then for any differential element, it's going to be this. Why we need it for this differential element? Because B was varying. B was not uniform. If B would have uniform, then we could have applied direct formula mu dot B. So that means mu dot B formula is valid only for uniform magnetic field. If it is non-uniform, so take the differential element, go for this, integrate, you will get your answer out of that. Well, so in this video lecture we have understood magnetic dipole moment, and its in it force, in it torque, in it energy stored, both in case of uniform as well as non-uniform. Fine. So just make your notes and keep on following. Thank you for watching. Have a good time.